I found this one folded inside a birthday card of all places, tucked behind a photo of my grandmother's dog that my mother had sent me for my 29th. I almost tossed the whole envelope without really looking, because I get sentimental junk mail from her every year, pressed flowers and old report cards and other things she can't bear to throw away herself. But the card slid open on my kitchen table, and something fluttered out and landed face down, and when I flipped it over, I stopped breathing for a second, right there standing in my socks with the mail still in my other hand. It was me at 23, scrub cap crooked, laughing so hard my eyes were shut, arms slung around a tall resident with a 5 o'clock shadow and a grin like he'd just gotten away with something. Behind us you could see the peeling paint of the on-call room door at Halden Memorial, the teaching hospital where I did my clinical rotations as a nursing student, what felt like a lifetime ago, and also like it happened last week. His name was Theo. I hadn't let myself think that name in years, not really, not on purpose. We met during my second rotation, the cardiac step-down unit, back when I was so terrified of doing everything wrong that I triple-checked my own shoelaces before checking a patient's vitals. He was 2 years ahead of me, already carrying himself like someone who belonged there, except for the way he'd sneak vending machine candy into the nurse's station at 3 in the morning and pretend it was a bribe for information he didn't actually need. I remember the first real conversation we had was an argument, something dumb about whether the break room coffee maker was salvageable or should be declared legally dead. He lost. He bought a new one anyway, out of his own pocket, and taped a handwritten sign to it that said, "Property of the nursing staff. Medical residents drink at their own risk." I fell for him slowly, and then all at once, the way you do at that age, when every shift feels like it might be the one where something shifts between you. We had exactly one dinner that wasn't in a cafeteria. We held hands once in a stairwell during a fire drill that turned out to be real, which felt like a sign at the time, some cosmic wink telling us to pay attention. And then his residency placement got reassigned to a hospital 4 states away, and mine kept me right where I was, and we did the thing 23-year-olds do when they're scared of wanting something too much. We let it go quiet instead of saying the hard thing out loud. I used to wonder if he thought about it as often as I did. Probably not, I told myself. People move on. People specialize in cardiology and marry someone from their new hospital and forget the girl who argued with them about coffee makers. I stood in my kitchen holding that photograph for so long, the ice in my water glass melted completely, and then I did something I hadn't let myself do in years. I looked him up. He was still practicing, it turned out, cardiology, exactly like I'd guessed, at a hospital only 2 hours from where I was living now, which felt like either an enormous coincidence or proof that the universe has a strange sense of humor. I sat with that information for 3 full days before I did anything about it. Is that pathetic, wanting to know if someone still remembers you the way you remember them? I don't think it is. I think most of us have a name we'd Google at 2 in the morning if we're being honest with ourselves. I didn't reach out directly. That felt like too much, too fast, after 9 years of silence. Instead, I found an excuse, the kind we tell ourselves are coincidences even when we've engineered them a little. A continuing education conference on cardiac care, the kind my current unit sends nurses to every so often, and this year it happened to be held in his city. I told myself I was going for the credits. He was in the second row of the opening session, and I recognized the back of his head before he ever turned around, which should have embarrassed me more than it did. When he did turn, scanning the room out of boredom probably, his eyes caught mine and just stopped. He didn't smile right away. He looked, for one unguarded second, exactly as stunned as I felt, like the floor had tilted slightly under both of us at once. We ended up at the same table during the coffee break, not by accident this time, both of us too proud to say we'd angled for it. "You cut your hair," he said, which was such a strange thing to lead with after 9 years that I laughed before I could stop myself. "You still look like you're about to steal candy from a vending machine," I said back, and something in his face loosened, like he'd been holding his breath, waiting to see if I'd remember any of it at all. We talked for 2 hours, not about cardiac protocols, about the coffee maker, which apparently is still there, still taped with a sign, though the handwriting on it now belongs to someone else who's kept up the tradition. About the fire drill in the stairwell, about the 4 states and the silence, and how neither of us had ever quite explained, even to ourselves, why we let it happen. I thought about reaching out probably 100 times, he admitted, turning his coffee cup slowly on the table, not quite looking at me. I always talked myself out of it. Figured you'd built a whole life by then that didn't have room for someone who disappeared on you. I understood that fear better than I wanted to. Haven't we all done that? Decided for someone else what they must be feeling, and let that decision cost us the actual conversation. I don't know yet exactly what this is going to become, him and me. 2 people who are not 23 anymore, who have careers and mortgages and a decade of separate lives layered between the version of us that held hands in a stairwell. But I know I drove home from that conference with the photograph on my passenger seat, propped against my water bottle, and I know I smiled every single time I glanced over at it at a red light. Some people would say some doors should stay closed once they've been closed that long. Maybe they're right. But I keep thinking about how that photograph didn't have to survive 9 years in a card in my mother's closet. And it did anyway, waiting for exactly the right Tuesday to fall out and remind me that some things don't actually end. They just wait for you to be brave enough to pick them back up.